Hey guys, Seth the Mad Dog here. Gonna do something a little different. Joe's off for a few weeks from the War Games live grind, and I can do Warp News, and I probably will. But I felt like this was a good opportunity for me to try to do one of the other projects for this channel that I've been hoping to do for a while, and that is to maybe start the conversation about something that's a little uncomfortable. So bear with me. I'm gonna do my best to get through this. I wanted to talk about something that has kind of been a thing that I've talked about a little bit here and there, but over the last year has become kind of a bigger deal for me, and that's mental health in 40K. I have gone through kind of I don't want to call it a rough year, but I've certainly had some challenges, and I thought my challenges were kind of an interesting learning experience for myself, and kind of opened my eyes to a lot what's going on, and maybe me talking and sharing my story, maybe that helps get some other folks feeling like they're not so alone. So you're gonna get a little bit of a different Mad Dog, just so we're clear. Typically you're seeing me a lot of times play a character. This is me more Seth the person. I'm a teacher on a day-to-day basis, so you're going to see kind of some of my teaching style come through here. My goals for this video and for this series, because I'm probably going to do a series of videos in this. I don't really have a clever title for it yet, but I figured I might as well start somewhere. I want to start the conversation in the community. A lot of folks have kind of nibbled around the edges on this one, but I think I feel now pretty comfortable trying to lead the discussion on this. It's a chance for us as individuals to share our stories, and then hopefully we can all kind of learn how we can use our hobby and this community to help each other and try to be better fit mentally. So I can't ask people to come on to my channel and share their stories and open up to the community if I don't share with y'all first. And I think sharing is important because there was a TV show over 10 years ago now. Oh crap, I feel old. Named The Newsroom, and it had a really great opening scene. But one of the lines from that opening scene that sticks with me is, "The first step to solving a problem is admitting there is one." And I am 38, and it wasn't until earlier this year that I actually sought significant help with my mental health. I, for years, just tried to white knuckle it and just tough it out and work through it on my own, and that was definitely not the right decision. So I've learned a lot. I've become a lot better health-wise in terms of my mental health after I kind of admitted that I'm not perfect. I do have problems, and I need to spend some time working on those problems. So it's not that scary to admit there's problems, and there's a stigma around it, particularly with men for some reason. So I'm not too macho to say I had some problems and I had to face them. For me, it kind of started small. I had over the last, I'd say 5-ish years at work, my stress levels had been building. I'm a veterinarian. I teach, I see cases, I work with students, I work with clients, I work with staff. There's a lot of different personalities that I have to work with, and I felt that stress growing and growing and growing for a few years, but it started to really kind of reach a break point a few years ago. I was having a lot of conflicts with coworkers. I was getting in trouble with my superiors because of it, and it was really starting to bleed over into my personal life at home. I was having trouble sleeping, trouble kind of relaxing and enjoying myself, and it was just not a good place for me mentally. Earlier this year, I'd probably say February, March-ish, it really started to come to a breaking point with me. Inevitably, those small problems that came home started to become bigger problems, and I was pretty unhappy with my home life. I was unhappy with my work life. None of it was really fulfilling for me. This community was the last place I felt happy and comfortable. I was in a lot of fights at work. I was in a lot of fights at home with my spouse. And it really felt like the only place that I didn't have to guard myself or worry. And so when I kind of reached this mental breaking point, and I thought I thought I was going to lose my job. I thought I was going to lose my marriage. I reached out to a good friend in this community, and I spoke with him. And I this was kind of like, a late night emergency in my mind. I'm calling him just to kind of talk me down from the ledge, so to speak. I was not actually suicidal. That's probably not the best phrase to use in a conversation like this, but I was really considering, like, I'm unhappy at home, I'm unhappy at work. Do I have to make some major life changes to fix this? And so I spoke with this individual. I won't reveal his name because I don't know if he wants me to, but if he lets me know that he's comfortable with it, I'll let you guys know who that was. But it was a good friend of mine, and it was a member in the community. And he really pushed me that, a lot of what I'm saying and feeling and talking through with him really needs some professional help. So with his pushing, I kind of decided, all right, my spouse has been through some mental health struggles as well. Therapy helped her. This friend of mine is telling me that the issues I'm talking about might be rooted in me in some level. So let's go give therapy a try. I'm never a quitter. I'm always a guy, my job is medicine. I want to fix things. So I felt before I made some major life decisions that I should make some effort in fixing myself. And that was a very, very smart decision on my part. So strongly encourage you, if you're going through something like that, don't make hasty decisions. Take your time, try to learn, try to fix what you can, and then move on from there. So I started seeing a therapist. I started some therapy. It was through a private group. I'm not sponsored by anyone, but it's one of those very common ads you'll probably see on a million YouTube videos. That was a very good first step for me. I got connected with a very good therapist that understood a lot of the issues I was bringing up, and they worked with me kind of in a way that my brain clicked with. And that's something I'm also learning as I go through this. If you are seeking therapy, I've also worked with a few therapists I didn't click with. This individual I did click with because early on they identified that I have a medical background, and so they talked through a lot of the issues I was having in a more clinical discussion, which helped me turn off my reactive side of my brain and listen more with my kind of my work brain, my doctor brain, if that makes sense. And try to put myself in the mindset of I'm working on a patient with these issues, and begin to understand what's going on. And they were very good at doing a few things for me. First, they helped me understand why I was responding to situations in a certain way. And that seems silly to say, but understanding why I felt a certain way and why I would respond to certain things at work and at home and kind of blow them out of proportion a lot of times, and understanding that's not normal, and understanding that is a problem, seems silly. Like, you should be able to do that on your own, but sometimes it takes someone that's kind of this neutral outside person to really start pointing those out to you. And once they point those out to you in conversation, I was able to start noticing some times in my day-to-day life when I would catch myself doing those things. It wasn't always perfect, and nothing ever is. You're never going to be 100%, but it was nice to kind of catch myself and see some of these things that she was talking about, like cognitive distortions, where my feelings were not a direct representation of reality. I was reacting to a situation and kind of assuming the worst things were going to happen, and realizing that yes, that could happen, but that's not the reality of the situation. Did help me to kind of slow down that anxiety and that stress. It also, this was like the kind of eye-opening moment for me, made me realize that what I was feeling wasn't normal. And it's probably been feelings that I've been having on some level, and thought patterns I've been having on some level for decades. And it just has been a thing that in my profession, there's been a shift over the last 5 or 10 years to really try to help with people's mental health. But when I was going through school and early in my career, it was kind of, you need to just tough it out and do the work and live the life, and eventually it'll get better, rather than people saying, hey, no, we shouldn't kill people doing this job. And I don't come from a family that has been very supportive of mental health issues. There's been a lot of mental health disorders in my family, and everyone's kind of, it's been taboo and hush hush, and let's not talk about it, let's not work on it, and not acknowledge it. So to me, that was normal. That was everyone's kind of grumpy and depressed. Everyone has anger issues. Everyone flies off the handle now and then. It's okay. And it took that therapist a couple months to really start to break down kind of my thought process that a lot of what I was feeling and doing was normal. And for me to understand, no, that's not normal. You shouldn't be in shouting matches with your spouse. You shouldn't be smashing computers at work. Did that years ago, not recently, but that's not normal. Yes, just because your parents did that doesn't mean that you should do that. So ultimately, that therapist identified a number of things that they really pushed me, that they felt that the issues I was having were kind of more than what they were comfortable dealing with on their own. And this is kind of, I'm not going to spend too much into human medicine, but they pushed for kind of a larger care team. So they really started pushing me to seek some more advanced care and testing. So through that, I eventually started seeing a in-network psychiatrist and psychologist. This stuff isn't cheap. I was paying probably over $400 a month for a therapist out of pocket. So I did have health insurance, and so it does have some mental health coverage. So I started seeing an in-network psychiatrist and psychologist, and they really started to try to approach the issues I'm having from a clinical level. And for me, that makes a lot of sense. I can follow that plan. And the first step is we need to actually put down in writing, what are your problems? Get some official diagnosis of what's going on with you, and then coming up with a plan, both through medication and therapy, on how to address those issues and improve day-to-day life. So I did go through a fairly lengthy process. This, for reference, I have this kind of breakdown in February and March. I started seeing a therapist. It was shortly after that, maybe beginning of March. It's June when I start trying to work with the psychiatrist and psychologist. This process didn't conclude for me in terms of getting a working diagnosis of what's going on with me until probably mid to late October. And coming from my background in veterinary medicine, to me, that's like, holy crap. Like, I had a breakdown in basically March, and it's not October until we get a diagnosis. That's crazy to me. And so I feel for people that if you're having issues that are more severe, like, holy crap, why does it take so long to go through this process? But it is long and tedious, and I think it's important to acknowledge that it's long and tedious, and a lot of times I had to repeat myself to new people and kind of re-give all of my history and redo some tests and things like that. It's been worth it to get to the final diagnosis of a lot of what's going on, but it took time and effort, and it wasn't easy, and I was going to a lot of appointments, and I still am, but it took work, but we did get there. So ultimately, I went through a battery of testing. You need a diagnosis for a targeted treatment plan, otherwise you're just kind of fumbling and flailing in space. So the main issues they've identified for me, I have some pretty significant PTSD from some childhood trauma. This has kind of led to paranoia and depression. That's kind of me freaking out and always assuming that forces at work are working against me, that people at work are out to get me, that I can't trust people, that very negative mindset. Additionally, I didn't particularly feel like this was a major issue, but early on in working with the psychiatrist, they were like, look, you have all the markers for ADHD. We should test you. And I've actually been tested twice now, and yes, I do have ADHD. It's not severe, but it is still there, and I have taken some medications for it to see if that can help my day-to-day focus. It has. At least at work, I can feel it has. I don't know if I can say I felt it better, in home life or hobby, but at least at work, it has helped me be a little bit more on task. And then the autism spectrum disorder diagnosis was really complicated, mainly because the battery of testing I took, there was a specific test for autism spectrum disorder, and it mostly tests communication skills. And I, through my work and life, have pretty decent communication skills. Hell, I'm sitting here recording a video for you guys on YouTube. I lecture on not daily basis, but very frequently. I work with clients and students and coworkers and staff and blah, 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 blah. I work with a lot of different people. So I didn't feel like, it ended up being that I didn't have the communication issues, but interestingly, in speaking with my psychologist, there was a big gap between my verbal reasoning and my nonverbal reasoning, and that, in and of itself, that big gap was kind of a diagnostic marker for autism, or essentially neurodivergent. My brain doesn't process information the same way. That really clicked with me. Not that I don't have a lot of the awkward social interactions that you typically expect from someone with an autism spectrum disorder, but the fact that oftentimes I'd struggle to communicate to a student a concept they're trying to learn, and they're not getting it, and I'm thinking it's the most basic thing ever, and realizing that their brain's going to process information differently than my brain's going to process information, really clicked with me. But then it also kind of clicked with me a little bit in the hobby, and that's ultimately kind of where I started thinking maybe this is worth discussing here in this kind of community. I feel like a lot of times I'm talking to guys about the game, and they're seeing things on the board that I can't see. And I put in the effort to try to see them. I play, I practice with some very, very good players. I'm just not seeing and analyzing things the same way they are. I'll take a list that they've run to success, and I try to run it. It doesn't feel right. I try to do the things, but I can't follow their thought process. And come to realize that maybe this is also part of that. Maybe my brain's processing the game differently than their brain, and my brain's evaluating lists differently than their brain. And maybe that's why some guy talks about the board state being very obvious to him, and I don't make any sense of it. Or to me, I see win condition really easy for a particular list I play, and my opponents can't sort that out. So I thought that was interesting and kind of a connection to the community. So in terms of my personal next step, they're working on some targeted therapy to try to help with the PTSD. That's a more difficult process than you would think, mainly because these childhood issues that I talked about aren't things I have great memories of, so it's really hard to work through something you don't remember. But they have some good scientifically based therapy options out there that I'm pursuing. I am on a couple different medications at this point to help with anxiety and my attention. And importantly, when you're dealing with any condition, period, mental or physical, continued reevaluation of how are you doing? Are you responding appropriately? Is the medication working? Is the therapy improving your day-to-day quality of life? So part of that is some frequent rechecks, and I do go back every so often. I think right now it's probably every 2 months to my psychiatrist to check in and see how things are working and kind of talk through new developments. So that's the plan for me personally. But my goal is kind of the next step in this series, now that we've kind of just put the baseline down of here's what I've been dealing with and how this community has kind of been my safe harbor during a lot of this. I want to continue to discuss my journey. Hopefully, over the next months to years, I have some more improvement, and I can share those with you guys. I also want to speak to both members of the community that have also had this experience. I guarantee you I'm not the only guy out there that has mental health issues in our community. I know personally from just previous personal conversations, private conversations with a number of people, that a lot of people face these issues and they feel isolated and alone. And I don't think everyone needs to come on here and share publicly, but the more of us that can come out and talk about these issues and be frank with each other about these issues, I think the more comfortable other people in the community are going to be. And then as more people see the discussion occurring and how people have been able to use different medical professionals to get help and live better quality of life, hopefully that helps some other people seek care as well. But I'm also really interested in what our community and what our hobby, what tabletop gaming as a whole, how that aids in mental health, because for the longest time I've used 40K in some form as my stress reliever, whether it's sitting around painting, watching a movie, or hanging out with friends in voice chat, BSing about lists, or playing practice games, or going to tournaments just to get away from the day-to-day grind and the day-to-day stresses. So I'm going to try to work and reach out to some folks I know in the mental health field that might be comfortable coming in and kind of talking with us and giving us some kind of broad overviews. By no means is it going to be a replacement for seeking actual mental health care, but I always think it's kind of good to kind of pull back the curtain of what happens when you go to seek help for something, and see if kind of give people a little bit of an idea of what that would feel like if they started to reach out to that, and maybe again reduce some of that hesitation folks might have. So this has been probably not the video you expected from me. I'm hoping that some of you guys found some value in it. And it's not the funnest thing to discuss. It's certainly not the thing that we necessarily are going to be open with everyone in our friends and family group about, but I feel comfortable enough in this community to share, and I think it's important for us to share. So let me know if any of this rang true with you. Let me know if this is something you're interested in. If the community's not interested in this, I'll probably won't be doing it. But for me, it was important to get out there and share. Like I said, I'm going to try to work with some folks, both personal individuals and maybe some experts to try to bring you a little bit more content if that's what you're interested in. But that's it. Let's start the conversation. Join us here in the comments on YouTube. I don't know if I'm going to cut this up for clips for YouTube and TikTok and whatever, because I don't think it really fits that subject matter. But feel free to join me. Feel free to reach out. Maybe if there is really a strong push for this, we have the War Games Live Discord. I've had a Discord before. I could reopen a Discord. Whatever the community wants, I'm happy to facilitate. I don't want this to be about me. I want it to be about the community. I started this first video about me because I can't ask you guys to participate if I'm not willing to share first. So hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you're having a good holiday. Until next time, I care about you. This is Seth the Mad Dog saying have a good one and take it easy.